Welcome to today's Triple Z. The Triple Z podcast is a daily program that you can use to help you fall asleep each night. Just turn down the volume, lay back, relax, and enjoy as you fall asleep. Today we're reading a legal agreement that many of you have likely agreed to, the PintRest Terms of Service Agreement, as well as their privacy policy, as posted on their site on November 2nd, 2022. PintRest is an American image sharing and social media service designed to enable saving and discovery of information, specifically ideas, on the internet using images, and on a smaller scale, animated images and videos in the form of pinboards. The site was created by Ben Silbermann, Paul Sciarra, and Evan Sharp, and had 433 million global monthly active users as of July 2022. It is operated by PintRest, Incorporated, based in San Francisco. If you enjoy our program, please be sure to write us a review on your podcast platform and share us with a friend. You both might sleep just a little better at night. Our website is Triple Z, that's 3zs.media. You can also like and share our content on Facebook or our Instagram account ZZZ Media Podcast. Music for today's episode was provided by the Sleep Channel on Spotify. Terms of Service. Thank you for using PintRest. These terms of service, terms govern your access to and use of the PintRest website, apps, APIs, and widgets, PintRest or the service. Please read these terms carefully and contact us if you have any questions. By accessing or using PintRest, you agree to be bound by these terms, our privacy policy, our cookies policy, and our community guidelines. More simply put, every company has its terms. These are ours. 1. Our service. PintRest helps you discover and do what you love. To do that, we show you things we think will be relevant, interesting, and personal to you based on your on-site and off-site activity. To provide our service, we need to be able to identify you and your interests. Some of the things we show you are promoted by advertisers. As part of our service, we try to ensure that even promoted content is relevant and interesting to you. You can identify promoted content because it will be clearly labeled. More simply put, PintRest helps you discover and do what you love. It's customized to you. We need to know what you like to make everything on PintRest relevant to you. 2. Using PintRest. Hey, who can use PintRest? You may use PintRest only if you can legally form a binding contract with PintRest and only in compliance with these terms and all applicable laws. When you create your PintRest account, you must provide us with accurate and complete information. You can't use PintRest if it would be prohibited by U.S. sanctions. Any use or access by anyone under the age of 13 is not allowed. If you're based in the EA, you may only use PintRest if you are over the age at which you can provide consent to data processing under the laws of your country. Using PintRest may include downloading software to your computer, phone, tablet, or other device. You agree that we may automatically update that software, and these terms will apply to any updates. B. Our license to you. Subject to these terms and our policies, including our community guidelines, we grant you a limited, non-exclusive, non-transferable, and revocable license to use our service. C. Commercial use of PintRest. If you want to use PintRest for commercial purposes, you must create a business account and agree to our business terms of service. If you do open an account for a company, organization, or other entity, then you include you in that entity and you promise that you are authorized to grant all permissions and licenses provided in these terms and bind the entity to these terms, and that you agree to these terms on the entity's behalf. More simply put, you cannot use PyRest if you're under 13 or older in some countries. Also, if you are using PyRest for work, you need to set up a business account. 3. Your content. Posting content. PyRest allows you to post content, including photos, comments, links, and other materials. Anything that you post or otherwise make available on PyRest is referred to as user content. You retain all rights in and are solely responsible for the user content you post to PyRest. More simply put, if you post your content on PyRest, it still belongs to you. B. How PyRest and other users can use your content. You grant PyRest and our users a non-exclusive, royalty-free, transferable, sub-licensable, worldwide license to use, store, display, reproduce, save, modify, create derivative works, perform, and distribute your user content on PyRest solely for the purposes of operating, developing, providing, and using PyRest. Nothing in these terms restricts other legal rights PyRest may have to user content, for example under other licenses. We reserve the right to remove or modify user content or change the way it's used in PyRest for any reason. This includes user content that we believe violates these terms, our community guidelines, or any other policies. More simply put, if you post your content on PyRest, we can show it to people and others can save it. Don't post porn or spam or be a jerk to other people on PyRest. C. How long we keep your content. Following termination or deactivation of your account, or if you remove any user content from PyRest, we may keep your user content for a reasonable period of time for backup, archival, or audit purposes. PyRest and its users may retain and continue to use, store, display, reproduce, repin, modify, create derivative works, perform, and distribute any of your user content that other users have stored or shared on PyRest. More simply put, if you choose to post content, you give us permission to use it to provide and improve PyRest. Copies of content shared with others may remain even after you delete the content from your account. D. Feedback you provide. We value hearing from our users and are always interested in learning about ways we can make PyRest more awesome. If you choose to submit comments, ideas, or feedback, you agree that we are free to use them without any restriction or compensation to you. By accepting your submission, PyRest doesn't waive any rights to use similar or related feedback previously known to PyRest or developed by its employees or obtained from sources other than you. More simply put, we can use your suggestions to make PyRest better. 4. Copyright policy. PyRest has adopted and implemented the PyRest copyright policy in accordance with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and other applicable copyright laws. For more information, please read our copyright policy. More simply put, we respect copyrights. You should, too. 5. Security. We care about the security of our users. While we work to protect the security of your content and account, PyRest can't guarantee that unauthorized third parties won't be able to defeat our security measures. We ask that you keep your password secure. Please notify us immediately of any compromise or unauthorized use of your account. More simply put, you can help us fight spammers by keeping these security tips in mind. 6. Third-party links, sites, and services. Pinterest may contain links to third-party websites, advertisers, services, special offers, or other events or activities that are not owned or controlled by Pinterest. We don't endorse or assume any responsibility for any such third-party sites, information, materials, products, or services. If you access any third-party website, service, or content from Pinterest, you do so at your own risk and you agree that Pinterest has no liability arising from your use of or access to any third-party website, service, or content. More simply put, Pinterest has links to content off of Pinterest. Most of that stuff is awesome, but we're not responsible when it's not. 7. Termination. Pinterest may terminate or suspend your right to access or use Pinterest for any reason on appropriate notice. We may terminate or suspend your access immediately and without notice if we have a good reason, including any violation of our community guidelines. Upon termination, you continue to be bound by sections 3 and 8 of these terms. More simply put, Pinterest is provided to you for free. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone, but we will provide appropriate notice. 8. Indemnity. If you use Pinterest for commercial purposes, i.e., you are not a consumer without agreeing to our business terms as required by Section 2C of these terms, you agree to indemnify and hold harmless Pinterest Inc., Pinterest Europe Ltd., their affiliates and their respective officers, directors, employees and agents from and against any claims, suits, proceedings, disputes, demands, liabilities, damages, losses, costs and expenses, including, without limitation, reasonable legal and accounting fees, including costs of defense of claims, suits or proceedings brought by third parties in any way related to your access to or use of our service, your user content, or your breach of any of these terms. More simply put, if we are sued because of something your business does on Pinterest, you have to pay our costs. Also, you should have created a business account and agreed to our business terms in the first place. 9. Disclaimers. Our service and all content on Pinterest is provided on as is basis without warranty of any kind, whether express or implied. Pinterest specifically disclaims any and all warranties and conditions of merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, and non-infringement, and any warranties arising out of course of dealing or usage of trade. Pinterest takes no responsibility and assumes no liability for any user content that you or any other person or third party posts or sends using our service. You understand and agree that you may be exposed to user content that's inaccurate, objectionable, inappropriate for children, or otherwise unsuited to your purpose. If you're a consumer in the EA, we don't exclude or limit any liability for gross negligence, intent, or death or personal injury caused by our negligence or willful misconduct. More simply put, unfortunately, people post bad stuff on services like Pinterest. We take that kind of thing seriously, but you still might run into it before we have a chance to take it down. If you see bad stuff, please report it to us here. 10. Limitation of liability. To the maximum extent permitted by law, Pinterest shall not be liable for any indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or punitive damages, or any loss of profits or revenues, whether incurred directly or indirectly, or any loss of data, use, goodwill, or other intangible losses resulting from your access to or use of or inability to access or use the service. Be any conduct or content of any third party on the service, including without limitation any defamatory, offensive, or illegal conduct of other users or third parties, or see unauthorized access, use, or alteration of your transmissions or content. In no event shall Pinterest's aggregate liability for all claims relating to the service exceed $100 US $100. If we cause damage to you and you're a consumer in the EA, the above doesn't apply. Instead, Pinterest's liability will be limited to foreseeable damages arising due to a breach of material contractual obligations typical for this type of contract. Pinterest isn't liable for damages that result from a non-material breach of any other applicable duty of care. This limitation of liability won't apply to any statutory liability that cannot be limited to liability for death or personal injury caused by our negligence or willful misconduct, or if and to exclude our responsibility for something we have specifically promised to you. More simply put, we are building the best service we can for you, but we can't promise it will be perfect. We're not liable for various things. If you think we are, let's try to work it out like adults. 11. Arbitration. For any dispute you have with Pinterest, you agree to first contact us and try to resolve the dispute with us informally. If we need to contact you, we will do so at the email address on your Pinterest account. If Pinterest hasn't been able to resolve the dispute with you informally, we each agree to resolve any claim, dispute, or controversy, excluding claims for injunctive or other equitable relief arising out of or in connection with or relating to these terms through binding arbitration or, for qualifying claims, in small claims court. Arbitration is a more informal way to resolve our disagreements than a lawsuit in court. For instance, arbitration uses a neutral arbitrator instead of a judge or jury, involves more limited discovery, and is subject to very limited review by courts. Although the process is more informal, arbitrators can award the same damages and relief that a court can award. You agree that, by agreeing to these terms of service, the U.S. Federal Arbitration Act governs the interpretation and enforcement of this provision, and that you and Pinterest are each waiving the right to a trial by jury or to participate in a class action. The arbitrator has exclusive authority to resolve any dispute relating to the interpretation, applicability, or enforceability of this binding arbitration agreement. This arbitration provision shall survive termination of this agreement and the termination of your Pinterest account. Any arbitration will be administered by the American Arbitration Association, AAA, under the consumer arbitration rules then in effect for the AAA, except as provided herein. You can find their forms at www.adr.org. Unless you and Pinterest agree otherwise, the arbitration will be conducted in the county or parish where you reside. Each party will be responsible for paying any AAA filing, administrative, and arbitrator fees in accordance with AAA rules, except that Pinterest will pay for your reasonable filing, administrative, and arbitrator fees if your claim for damages does not exceed $75,000 and is non-frivolous, as measured by the standards set forth in Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11b. If your claim is for $10,000 or less, we agree that you may choose whether the arbitration will be conducted solely on the basis of documents submitted to the arbitrator through a telephonic hearing or by an in-person hearing as established by the AAA rules. If your claim exceeds $10,000, the right to a hearing will be determined by the AAA rules. Regardless of the manner in which the arbitration is conducted, the arbitrator shall issue a reasoned written decision explaining the essential findings and conclusions on which the award is based, and any judgment on the award rendered by the arbitrator may be entered in any court of competent jurisdiction. Nothing in this section shall prevent either party from seeking injunctive or other equitable relief from the courts, including for matters related to data security, intellectual property, or unauthorized access to the service. All claims must be brought in the party's individual capacity and not as a plaintiff or class member in any purported class or representative proceeding, and, unless we agree otherwise, the arbitrator may not consolidate more than one person's claims. You agree that, by entering into these terms, you and Pinterest are each waiving the right to a trial by jury or to participate in a class action. Nothing in these terms of service shall affect any non-waivable statutory rights that apply to you. To the extent any claim, dispute, or controversy regarding PieRest or our service isn't arbitrable under applicable laws or otherwise, you and PieRest both agree that any claim or dispute regarding PieRest will be resolved exclusively in accordance with Section 12 of these terms. If you're a consumer in the EA, Section 11 doesn't apply to you. 12. Governing law and jurisdiction. These terms shall be governed by the laws of the state of California without respect to its conflict of laws principles. If you are not a consumer in the EA, the exclusive place of jurisdiction for all disputes arising from or in connection with this agreement is San Francisco County, California, or the United States District Court for the Northern District of California, and our dispute will be determined under California law. If you are a consumer in the EA, this won't deprive you of any protection you have under the law of the country where you live and access to the courts in that country. More simply put, the Bay Area is beautiful this time of year. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. That's what's so great. Anyway, you'll have to sue us here. In the EA, this applies if you're a merchant, but not if you're a consumer. If you're a consumer in the EA, you can sue us in your home courts. 13. General terms. Notification procedures and changes to these terms. We reserve the right to determine the form and means of providing notifications to you, and you agree to receive legal notices electronically if that's what we decide. We may revise these terms from time to time, and the most current version will always be posted on our website. If a revision, in our discretion, is material, we'll notify you. By continuing to access or use PieRest after revisions become effective, you agree to be bound by the new terms. If you don't agree to the new terms, please stop using PieRest. More simply put, if we're making a big change to the terms, we'll let you know. If you don't like the new terms, please stop using PieRest. Assignment. These terms, and any rights and licenses granted hereunder, may not be transferred or assigned by you, but may be assigned by PieRest without restriction. Any attempted transfer or assignment in violation hereof shall be null and void. If you're a consumer in the EA, either you or PieRest may assign this agreement and any rights and licenses granted under it to a third party. In case of such an assignment by PieRest, you are entitled to terminate the agreement with immediate effect by deactivating your account. PieRest will provide you with reasonable notice of any such assignment. Entire agreement/severability. These terms, together with the privacy policy and any amendments and any additional agreements you may enter into with PieRest, shall constitute the entire agreement between you and PieRest concerning the service. If any provision of these terms is deemed invalid, then that provision will be limited or eliminated to the minimum extent necessary, and the remaining provisions of these terms will remain in full force and effect. No waiver. No waiver of any term of these terms shall be deemed a further or continuing waiver of such term or any other term, and Pinterest's failure to assert any right or provision under these terms shall not constitute a waiver of such right or provision. Parties. If you live in the United States, these terms are a contract between you and Pinterest Incorporated, 651 Brannan Street, San Francisco, California, 94103. If you live outside the United States, these terms are a contract between you and Pinterest Europe Limited, an Irish company with its registered office at Palmerston House, 2nd floor, Fenian Street, Dublin 2, Ireland. More simply put, who you deal with depends on where you live. Effective May 1st, 2018, we added more details about data we collect and how it's used, along with a new way to control whether it is used to report on ads performance. We added new information for our California residents. Thank you for using Pinterest. Our mission is to bring everyone the inspiration to create a life they love. To do that, we show you personalized content and ads we think you'll be interested in based on information we collect from you and third parties. We only use that information where we have a proper legal basis for doing so. We wrote this policy to help you understand what information we collect, how we use it, and what choices you have about it. Because we're an internet company, some of the concepts below are a little technical, but we've tried our best to explain things in a simple and clear way. We welcome your questions and comments on this policy. We collect information in a few different ways. 1. When you give it to us or give us permission to obtain it. When you sign up for or use Pinterest, you voluntarily share certain information, including your name, email address, phone number, photos, pins, comments, and any other information you give us. You can also choose to share your precise location using your device settings or through photos. We will still use your IP address, which is used to approximate your location, even if you don't choose to share your precise location. You will also have the option to share other information about yourself, such as your gender, age, and preferred language. If you connect your Facebook, Google opens in a new window or other third-party accounts to Pinterest, we use information from those accounts, such as your friends or contacts, to improve your Pinterest experience. This is dependent on the privacy policies or settings for those accounts. 2. We also get technical information when you use Pinterest. When you use a website, mobile application, or other internet service, certain internet and electronic network activity information gets created and logged automatically. This is also true when you use Pinterest. Here are some of the types of information we collect. Log data. When you use Pinterest, our servers record information, log data, including information that your browser automatically sends whenever you visit a website, or that your mobile app automatically sends when you're using it. This log data includes your Internet Protocol address, which we use to infer your approximate location, the address of an activity on websites you visit that incorporate Pinterest features, like the Save button, more details below, searches, browser type and settings, the date and time of your request, how you use Pinterest, cookie data, and device data. You can learn more about the log data we collect here. Cookie data. We also use cookies, small text files sent by your computer each time you visit our website, unique to your Pinterest account or your browser or similar technologies to get log data. When we use cookies or other similar technologies, we use session cookies that last until you close your browser, or persistent cookies that last until you or your browser delete them. For example, we use cookies to store your language preferences or other settings so you don't have to set them up every time you visit Pinterest. Some of the cookies we use are associated with your Pi-Rest account, including information about you, such as the email address you gave us, and other cookies are not. For more detailed information about how we use cookies, please review our cookie policy. Opens in a new window. Device information. In addition to log data, we collect information about the device you're using Pi-Rest on, including the type of device, operating system, settings, unique device identifiers, and crash data that helps us understand when something breaks. Clickstream data and inferences. When you're on Pi-Rest, we use your activity, such as which pins you click on, boards you create, and any text that you add in a comment or description, along with information you provided when you first signed up, and information from our partners and advertisers to make inferences about you and your preferences. For example, if you create a board about travel, we may infer you are a travel enthusiast. We may also infer information about your education or professional experience based on your activity when you link your account to accounts you have with third parties like Facebook or Google. 3. Our partners and advertisers share information with us. We also get information about you and your activity outside Pi-Rest from our affiliates, advertisers, partners, and other third parties we work with. For example, some websites or apps use Pi-Rest features such as our Save button, where you may install our Save button for your browser. If so, we collect log data from those sites or apps. You can learn more about these features at our Help Center. Online advertisers or third parties share information with us to measure, report on, or improve the performance of ads on Pi-Rest, or to figure out what kinds of ads to show you on or off of Pi-Rest. This includes information about your visits to an advertiser's site or purchases you made from them, or information about your interests from a third-party service, which we might use to help show you ads. Learn more about the types of information advertisers or other third parties share with us. What we do with the info we collect. We're committed to showing you content that's relevant, interesting, and personal to you. To do that, we use your information to provide and improve your experience, including identify you when you use Pi-Rest, recommend pins, boards, topics, or categories you might like based on your activity on Pi-Rest. For example, if we see you're into cooking, we may suggest food-related pins, boards, or people that we think you might like, or show you food-related ads. Respond to your questions or comments. We have a legitimate interest for using your info in these ways. It's fundamental to what we do at Pi-Rest and necessary in order to make Pi-Rest and its features relevant and personalized to you. We also have a legitimate interest in making Pi-Rest safe and improving our product features so you keep finding the inspiration you want. We all benefit when we use your information to suggest other people who have similar interests. For example, if you follow interior design boards, we may suggest interior designers that you might like. Help your friends and contacts find you on Pi-Rest. For example, if you sign up using a Facebook account, we can help your Facebook friends find you on Pi-Rest when they first sign up for Pi-Rest. Or people can search for your account on Pi-Rest using your email. Work with law enforcement and keep Pi-Rest safe. We may get requests for account information from law enforcement authorities like the police or courts. To find out more about how we respond to law enforcement requests, please see our law enforcement guidelines. Review your messages on Pi-Rest to detect activity that poses a risk to the safety of you, our community, or members of the public. Conduct analytics and research on who is using Pi-Rest and what they are doing. For example, by logging how often people use two different versions of a feature on Pi-Rest, we can understand which version is better, improve PieRest and offer new features, advertise PieRest products and services to you on other sites. You can choose for us not to share your information with other sites to personalize those ads as described in the choices you have about your information section below. Send you updates, such as when certain activity, like saves or comments, happens on PieRest and news by email or push notification, depending on your settings. For example, we send weekly updates that include pins you may like. You can decide to stop getting these notifications by updating your settings. We have a legitimate interest in delivering ads that are relevant, interesting, and personal to you in order to generate revenue. To further these interests, we use the information we collect to decide which ads to show you. For example, if you show an interest in camping tents on PieRest, we may show you ads for other outdoor products. We customize the ad content we show you by identifying your interests based on your on-site and off-site activities, as well as by using information we receive from ad partners or other third parties. Where we use cookies to identify your off-site interests, we'll get your consent where we need to. Where ad partners or other third parties share information with us about you, we rely on the consent they already obtained. Tell our ad partners how their PieRest ads are doing and how to make them better. Some of this information is aggregated. For example, we would report to an advertiser that a certain percentage of people who viewed a promoted pin went on to visit that advertiser's site. In other instances, this information isn't aggregated. For example, we would let an advertiser know that a particular promoted pin has been saved by certain people. To find out more about reporting on ads, please visit the Help Center. We have a legitimate interest in using information we collect to customize your PieRest experience based on your off-site behavior. For example, if you visit websites that sell electric guitars, we may suggest guitar pins to you. When we identify your interests based on your off-site behavior with cookies, we or our partners will obtain any consent that we may need. To find out more about how we use cookies, please see our cookie policy. In addition to the specific circumstances above, we'll only use your information with your consent in order to allow searching with photos. For example, if you take a photo of a pair of shoes or a piece of furniture you like, you can ask us to show you similar items. You can opt into this in your device operating system settings. Send you marketing materials by email, text, push notification, or phone call depending on your account or operating system settings. Each time we send you marketing materials, we give you the option to unsubscribe. Identify your precise location and customize the content we show you. For example, if we know that you're near a retailer, we may show you that retailer's pins that may be of interest to you. You can opt into this in your device operating system settings. Tell our ad partners how their ads are doing using the PieRest tag. The PieRest tag, a piece of code an advertiser puts on their site, delivers insights to us and our ad partners about actions that a person takes on their website after viewing an ad on PieRest. To learn more about the PieRest tag, please visit the Help Center. We'll also rely on your consent where we use cookies to show you ads you might be interested in. We use cookies to identify your interests based on your off-site activity. We do this for people currently using PieRest and for new folks, and it helps us customize how you get started on PieRest. To find out more about how we use cookies and your choices about how we use them, please see our cookie policy. Transferring your information. PieRest is a worldwide service. By using our products or services, You authorize us to transfer and store your information outside your home country, including in the United States, for the purposes described in this policy. The privacy protections and the rights of authorities to access your personal information in such countries may not be equivalent to those of your home country. See this section for EEA residents to learn more about data transfers to and from that region. Choices you have about your info. Our goal is to give you simple and meaningful choices regarding your information. If you have a PyRest account, many of these controls are built directly into PyRest or your settings. For example, you can edit information in your profile at any time, decide whether your profile is available to search engines, or choose whether others can find your PyRest account using your email address. Link or unlink your PyRest account from other services like Facebook, Google, or Twitter. For some services, like Facebook, you can also decide whether or not to publish your PyRest activity to that service. Edit secret board settings. Secret boards are visible to you and other collaborators in the board, and any collaborator may choose to make the board available to anyone else. For example, another collaborator can invite someone else to the board, make the board available to an app they use to view PyRest, or even just take an image from the board and email it to their friends. Choose whether PyRest will be customized for you using information from other websites or apps. If you have a PyRest account and want to control how your offsite data is used to tailor your experience, you can visit your settings and update your personalization preferences. Choose whether PyRest ads delivered to you on other platforms, sites, or apps are customized using information about your account activities. You can control this by visiting your settings and updating your personalization preferences. Choose whether PyRest shares information about your activity on PyRest for ads performance reporting. You can control this by visiting your settings and updating your personalization preferences. Close your account at any time. When you close your account, we'll deactivate it, remove your pins and boards from PyRest, and delete your account data. Please note that there may be legal reasons for us to keep your data, such as if we receive a law enforcement request asking us to preserve data. We may also retain certain information in our backup systems for a limited period of time or as required by law. We also support settings such as limit ad tracking in iOS, ads personalization in Android devices, as well as do not track in browsers. Learn more about how do not track affects our collection and use of data collected off of PyRest. You also have choices available to you through the device or software you use to access PyRest. For example, the browser you use lets you control cookies or other types of local data storage. Your mobile device lets you choose how and whether your precise location, photos, contacts, and other data is shared with us. To learn more about these choices, please see the information provided by your device or software provider. How and when we share information. Anyone can see the public boards and pins you create and profile information you give us. We also make this public information available through what are called APIs, basically a technical way to share information quickly. For example, a partner can study what their most popular pins are or how their pins are being shared on PyRest by using a PyRest API. We also share your information with other services at your direction to enable you to sign up for or log into PyRest, or when you decide to link your PyRest account to those services like Facebook or Google, or when you publish your content on PyRest to them. For example, if you choose to publish your pins to Facebook or Twitter, then information about that content will be shared with Facebook or Twitter. Services we use to market Pinterest to you on sites and apps other than Pinterest, such as Facebook ads, Google Marketing Platform, Microsoft Advertising, LinkedIn Advertising, The Trade Desk, and others from time to time. You can opt out of sharing with such advertising services in your settings. Online advertisers and third-party companies that we whether use to audit or improve the delivery and performance of ads or content on websites and apps, for example, through Google Analytics. This includes us sharing the pins or ads you were shown on Pinterest and whether or how you engaged with those pins or ads or other information about your activity on Pinterest. Learn more about how we share information with online advertisers. To learn more about third-party companies that analyze ad performance, please visit our Help Center. Third-party companies, service providers, or individuals that we employ to process information on our behalf based on our instructions and for the purposes described in this privacy policy. For example, we share data with security consultants to help us get better at identifying spam. Some information we acquire may be collected by third-party providers on our behalf. Law enforcement agencies or government agencies. We only share information if we believe that disclosure is reasonably necessary to comply with a law, regulation, or legal request to protect the safety, rights, or property of the public, any person, or Pinterest, or to detect, prevent, or otherwise address fraud, security, or technical issues. Our wholly owned subsidiaries and affiliates. If we were to engage in a merger, acquisition, bankruptcy, dissolution, reorganization, or similar transaction or proceeding that involves the transfer of the information described in this policy, we would share your information with a party involved in such a process, for example, a potential purchaser. How long we keep your information? We keep your information only so long as we need it to provide Pinterest to you and fulfill the purposes described in this policy. This is also the case for anyone that we share your information with and who carries out services on our behalf. When we no longer need to use your information and there is no need for us to keep it to comply with our legal or regulatory obligations, we'll either remove it from our systems or depersonalize it so that we can't identify you. Our policy on children's information. Children under 13 are not allowed to use Pinterest. If you are based in the EAE, you may only use Pinterest if you are over the age at which you can provide consent to data processing under the laws of your country. Your options. You have options in relation to the information that we have about you. To exercise these options, please visit your account settings and, if you still need help, our Help Center. Request access to the information we collect and hold about you. We'll usually share this with you within 30 days of you asking us for it through our Help Center. Have your information corrected or deleted. You can update your information in your profile or delete your data by closing your account. Object to us processing your information. You can ask us to stop using your information, including when we use your information to send you marketing emails or push notifications. If you opt out of receiving marketing messages from us, we may still send you updates about your account, such as when someone comments on one of your pins. Have the information you provided to us sent to another organization where we hold this information with your consent or for the performance of a contract with you, and where it's technically feasible for us to do so. Request more details about the information we collect and how and why we use and share it. We will not discriminate against you if you choose to exercise your options related to your personal information. We work to be clear with you about your options and the consequences of exercising certain options. If you have questions, please contact us. Residents of the EA. If you have any questions about our data processing activities, the data controller you should contact is Pinterest Europe Limited, an Irish company with its registered office at Palmerston House, 2nd floor, Fenian Street, Dublin 2, Ireland. You can also contact our data protection officer. If you think that we haven't complied with data protection laws, you have a right to lodge a complaint with the Data Protection Commission in Ireland or with your local supervisory authority. Because Pinterest is a worldwide service, we may transfer the personal data of EEA residents to a country outside the EEA. Where we transfer information from the EEA to a country that doesn't provide an adequate level of protection, we'll only do so under appropriate safeguards to protect your information, like standard contractual clauses. California residents. The California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, requires us to disclose categories of personal information we collect and how we use it, the categories of sources from whom we collect personal information, and the third parties with whom we share it, which we have explained above. In the preceding 12 months, we have collected personal information from you, your devices, our partners, third parties, and from categories of sources otherwise described in the We Collect Information in a Few Different Ways section of this privacy policy. We are also required to communicate information about rights California residents have under California law. You may exercise the following rights. Right to know and access. You may submit a verifiable request for information regarding the 1. Categories of personal information we collect, use, or share, 2. Purposes for which categories of personal information are collected or used by us, 3. Categories of sources from which we collect personal information, and, for specific pieces of personal information we have collected about you. Right to equal service. We will not discriminate against you if you exercise your privacy rights. Right to delete. You may submit a verifiable request to close your account and we will delete personal information about you that we have collected. In order to verify your identity when you make a request, you will be required to log into your password-protected account or respond to an email verification request. We do not sell the personal information of our users. For more information about these rights, please see choices you have about your info above, and to exercise them, please visit our help center or contact us at privacysupport@pinterest.com. In addition to exercising these rights yourself, you may also designate an authorized agent to make these requests on your behalf. In order to do this, we will ask you to verify the request directly via email or through your password-protected account. We collect the following categories of personal information, and in the past 12 months, we have disclosed these categories of personal information for a business purpose to affiliates, service providers, and third parties, as described in the How and When We Share Information section of this privacy policy. Identifiers, such as your name, username, email address, phone number, unique device identifiers, and your IP address. Personal characteristics protected by law, such as your gender and age. Commercial information, such as purchases made and payment information. Internet or electronic network activity information, such as information about your device and your use of our services. Geolocation data when shared through your device settings or photos. Electronic, visual, or similar information such as your profile picture or photos. Professional or employment information when you link your account to other accounts. Inferences we draw or derive about users, such as your interests or preferences. Other information you provide, such as your bio, pins, and comments. We use and disclose this information for the business purposes described in the What We Do with the Info We Collect section in this privacy policy, including to provide our service, communicate with you to provide updates or respond to your comments and questions, audit our service, detect security incidents and prevent fraud, debug and repair errors, maintain your account, provide customer service, process or fulfill orders, conduct research and development and other activities to improve our service, show advertising, market our services, and understand how users interact with our services. The CCPA requires us to disclose certain metrics about the various requests we get, such as how many specific requests we received from California residents in the last calendar year. See our CCPA metrics disclosure. How we make changes to this policy. We may change this policy from time to time, and if we do, we'll post any changes on this page. If you continue to use PyRest after those changes are in effect, you agree to the new policy. If the changes are significant, we may provide a more prominent notice or get your consent as required by law. Contact us. The best way to get in touch with us or to exercise your options described above is through the Help Center. If you live in the United States, PyRest Incorporated is responsible for your information. You can contact PyRest Incorporated at 651 Brannan Street, San Francisco, California, 94107 USA. Effective date September 2nd, 2020. Last updated July 1st, 2021. PyRest 2022.